Yes, Senator Turber. Yes, Senator Turber. We may continue. Committee concluded.
Welcome to the Professor Noodle Show. Let's review our story. The story begins 15 billion years or so ago, when an unidentified entity, a good entity I should say, from the fifth or higher dimension somewhere out there, took power over the fourth and lower dimensional expression in the universe and created the Big Bang. It took a little bit less than 21 pounds of pure stuff to make the Big Bang, which created, among other things, the Milky Way galaxy. About 10 billion years after that, a planet formed around the yellow star we may call Sol. The planet was seeded with life by dust of comets drifting through the galaxy between star systems. In the last 4 million years, a life form evolved upon the planet, having 12 distinct thought actions to its mind. All these thought actions have evolved up to the last one of them, where everything is stuck at that last level of thought action we may call will thought action, or perhaps what Nietzsche would call the will to power. Our hero, Professor Noodle, fell out of a career in military medicine, having tried to conform. In the effort he took, assisted by the military, to make him a real man, the failure did something else. As he nearly died, he saw the Big Bang, or imagined he saw it, and he imagined talking to other beings in time and space who have the 12 thought actions fully matured, and learned of the unidentified but otherwise very good entity which formed the universe from 21 pounds of pure substance, seeking to express good and perfect creation in life. So, Professor Noodle, assisted by his new ability, which accidentally formed in the almost totaled experience, the power of pan-dimensional imagination, seeks to understand life and explore truth. These episodes are the continuing saga in the Essay on Existence by Professor Noodle, researching life scientists.
He is as definitely a necessary new dimension to space industry and space research. Part of space exploration must be facilitated by new business and not new government. We have to work on supporting that, because out of that comes a greater diversity of ideas and engineering concepts that will fill the gaps that are even unexpected gaps as we go forward collectively in various aspects to develop space society and space industry. Secondly, part of the process has to be diversified ideas and approaches that will develop various aspects of space. So I've often mentioned how with solar energy collection in space, you can have an unlimited supply, virtually unlimited supply of energy to collect from solar collectors in space. and beam down with microwave energy, beam down to receiver dishes on the Earth, and wow, it could be a tremendous boon for the energy industry. The other side of that equation is that it may be that overpopulation leaves us no choice but to get some industries and some people out into space. And if we develop the tremendous landmass on Mars, and if we can improve a little bit of some aspects of the ecology on Mars, so that it achieves more of a biological ecology, because it definitely doesn't have very much biology. If there is biology there, it's probably mostly subterranean and subarctic terranean in nature. We probably will want to try to develop more of an ecology there that is compatible with people. And if we do, it's a tremendously expanded environment for us to use to improve the chances of the survival of the human species. If anything were ever to happen to Earth, then we would have a second foothold by having Mars as a place to have human civilization. So, free market of ideas, definitely something that we need to think. In a recent study, I think it was 1998 as I read it, there are over 3,300 prisons in the United States. And one survey that was done in the year
that this procedure and laboratory method will provide for vacuum energy density as measurements of quantum field theory, as would predict, adjusting for this by removing the huge magnitude through a counterbalance pressure in quantum mechanical movement across a surface due to baryons and cold dark matter only. And that's reference to Longo and Musino's paper in 2018. Okay, so now then, what is derived from these is that the linear accelerator experiments that smashed apart subatomic particles showed that the subatomic particles smash apart in such a way as that they appear to be tetrahedrons, which are little, almost pyramid-like triangle shapes that are a set of 4 sides that are all triangles. And so I have a pair of these here because they come in pairs. And if you take a equilateral triangle cut and you make a model, which is your Planck's pixel, the smallest subatomic particle piece is a Planck's pixel, a tiny, tiny tetrahedron, which has a length along one side of the equilateral triangle of Planck's constant. So then, the other thing about building these models is that if you follow a set of physics rules in gravity, in quantum gravity physics, then one side of the Planck's pixel is always going to orient toward the center of the Earth because of gravity. And I use the yellow to represent that side. If you do that, then you have 3 other sides to designate with an ordinal of some kind, and I use blue, red, and green. Now if you do that, there are 2 possible configurations that necessarily mathematically occur, because as you make more of them with one, the yellow facing down, then you will have 2 possible, a cis and a trans, a yin and a yang configuration if you say that the green always has to face out away from the mutual side of the two Planck's pixels, and the yellow always has to face down towards the center of the Earth from these two Planck's pixels. Then you have either red or blue, or you have red or blue. And if you look at this, you'll realize there are two possible ways. It's either going to be red and blue and red, or it's going to be red and blue and red. It's going to be one or the other. There's going to be a cis and a trans, right-handed and left-handed configuration of the alignment of these last two equilateral triangles on these surfaces. And just like the paper in 2018 by Longo and Musino has said, they exactly counterbalance each other. And that's what makes for, in the quantum density, the quantum energy density in vacuum, that's what makes for the reason there is not a order of magnitude of 60 orders of magnitude difference happening, and it balances out as zero, is because there is a string which is taking a paper and folding it in upon itself. So if you could bend the paper around and have it in a helix around upon itself, a two-dimensional planar force, a wave in a planar force, a two-dimensional force, but it folds in a helix upon itself, making a kind of a figure 8 shape. And then you stretch that out as a string, that becomes one edge of your equilateral triangle, of which there are 4 points, because as we know in the phenomenal world that we live in, we experience at the macro molecular level as aware beings in our environment, length, width, depth, and everything is happening in time, 4 dimensions. And there are 4 points to the tetrahedron, and there are, with the 4 equilateral triangles, there are these strings of force that go along between the points, and they are all an equal and matching distance, exactly balanced, as they would be in the early universe before the end of the quark epoch. And they are exactly balanced relative to each other. And these two have a string in the center of the area of the tetrahedron that is a connection between the two of them as a right-handed and a left-handed matching configuration from the way that they formed before the quark epoch ended and the exact balance ended. And then came the dark matter, and then came the strings that are the result of the lack of things staying in exact, complete, total balance. And that dark matter factor, that string theory factor, is how all the Planck's pixels manifest the various different kinds of subatomic particles. Photons, for example, it's a distance between two subatomic particles that are Planck's pixels, a distance between them, and a string of connection at the center of each of these right-hand and left-hand matching Planck's pixels that are a pair matched since the beginning of the Big Bang. And that distance between them, at a certain distance, then the field, the spheric field, defined by their movement in an orbit around each other, relative to each other, is what creates an area in space with a level of energy, of quantum energy movement, that will be a photon. You see? So, and it acts like a particle in some ways, and it acts like a wave in other ways. So this system is what results in the design of a computer information code that uses 3 frequencies: red, blue, and green. And those 3 frequencies allow me to communicate with my mediator devices, which are a radio silent light signal communicating system. And I can say red, red, green for A. I can say green, green, red for B. And I can say blue, blue, green for C. And I can use 3 keys on a keyboard to type out every letter in the alphabet and every number in the number system of 0 through 9, and I can do all the communication that you can do with 8 switches on and off in hexanary in only 3 signals. So that's how I derived this system after studying physics and studying physical chemistry as a biology scholar, and then working with computers all my life, and I came up with the patent that I have developed, and that's how I came up with it.
Question of red would be in binary 0, 0, 1 for the meaning of false, false, true, because the letter C was coded blue, blue, red. Question of green, the second column, would be 0, 0, 0, because it is not a code binary on for green in any case for the letter C. And then on the question of blue for the letter C, it would be 1, 1, 0, because if the letter C is coded blue, blue, red, then the binary answer in the column for the blue frequency is 1, 1, 0, corresponding to the logic answer of true, true, false. What does this mean in terms of processing speed on a computer? Imagine if instead of trying to make a single chip of 1,200 megahertz on one motherboard to handle for the letter C transmitted over the internet in an hexanary code, that instead we have 3 motherboards, each one operating at 1,200 gigahertz speed. Each motherboard handles the binary answer to create the letter C in 1 frequency. The first motherboard, operating at 1,200 gigahertz, has only 3 binary segments to operate for the frequency of the color red. Therefore, the first motherboard says 001. The second motherboard, operating for the frequency of green light, is 000. The third motherboard, operating for the frequency of blue light, processes 110. If, simultaneously, all 3 motherboards process at 1,200 gigahertz speed, separately and parallel, so that one motherboard says 001, then the next motherboard says 000, while the third motherboard at the same time says 110, then in the speed of processing 3 bits, At 1,200 gigahertz, the computer has created the letter C. Imagine what it would be like if the letter A could be represented by the question of its matching to a question of red, blue, and green. And so, the question in the code would be whether or not it is red. First answer would be true. It is red. For A, the code is red, red, green. So in the column of the frequency of red light, true, true, false. You see, for red, red, green, question of red is true, true, false. Question of green would be false, false, true, and question of blue would be false, false, false. Hello again from Captain Siberius Smirk of the U.S. super skyship Capitalism, speaking from the year 4800 Common Era, relative Earth time, explaining about the progress of information science in the future. I may refer to the red, blue, and green color frequencies of the communicator device. The red, green, and blue color frequencies were used to transmit information in 3 frequencies, a binary code then of 3 distinct frequencies. This allowed for the conveyance of information over the transmission cables in fiber optics, and this also allowed for a faster speed of transmission of information bits, not the old hexanary binary system. So that's how it worked out by the time 4800. That is J. Wimpole here, from the British side of the Professor Noodle family. I hope that you will enjoy this show this week. We're going to attempt to address a very interesting topic, something rather spontaneous, serendipitous, and slightly contextual. We're going to be addressing whether or not it should be, possibly could be, might even be possible, and even slightly probable, considering the mathematical ramifications of the specifications, to create a new kind of computing organization to the device, which is commonly referred to as the personal computer. Our idea is that this is particularly difficult to do when you have no money, no collateral to start with in the first place, and your concept, although it is a new architecture which might, by its mathematical configurations, resolve the problems in the specifications of the designs of the personal computer, making it able to perform at a higher and more definite level of informational transference over the internet. Nevertheless, it would also be such a change in the basic architecture of the unit individual of the machine that it would cause industrial connection fit from the organization of the device at its fundamental architecture and build up again from there, you see. So it's an interesting question. There are some basic mathematical reasons to entertain in this present supposition, such as it shall be presented this evening. But one must bear in mind that Professor Noodle has pan-dimensional imagination, And so the result is, this is speculation, it is fun, it is mathematically responsible in many ways, but we cannot call it pure science. The invention of Novocaine is an example, and it's the way that it came into the practice in medicine, is an example of being pinned between two places. The place of science industry, business, first and foremost, and the place of discovery, the place of actually solving problems. When I consider the vastness of this universe, the importance of our relationship as two intelligent beings on a planet of intelligent civilization striving to build itself in peace, in the success of industry providing food, shelter, clothing, medicine, agriculture, responsible use of resources for the environment. When I consider the implications of the stumbling of technology in addressing the emergency need for an expansion of efficiency, environmental considerations, meeting the needs of a burgeoning population that is not yet, it seems, resolved to get beyond this single planet with its population. I would say that probably I would try to contribute to technological advancement, not thinking first and foremost of exclusively holding on to my own patent rights. Of course, I could also just as easily say that I'm not rich enough to secure a patent attorney in the first place, and secondly, I find that I struggle as a person who is not very professionally empowered in terms of my economic work, to get the attention of those who are in the six-digit figure range and who are also highly educated people. So for me, it probably bodes just as well either way to try to contribute.
Welcome to the Professor Noodle Show. It has not been of any particular use to have the show continue in new episodes on a regular basis for some time now, because the main focus of my work has been on more of a one-on-one communication on things that I'm working on in information theory, which have to do with the two sides of the work that's been before me. On the one side is life science, biological science mainly, and on the other side is cyber technology, or the internet, because information theory, which is the application of knowledge and factual information in order to resolve concerns, issues, problems, to solve problems and satisfy the needs of civilization. This is a process that involves mainly two domains. There is biological science, the fact that we are living beings and we have needs biologically as living beings. And then there is information science, which is the tremendous utility of information as a technology so as to manage industrial production and the industrial economic reality that is the financial situation we're in this civilization, in order to resolve our concerns with each other peacefully, amicably, functionally, efficiently, and in a way that is protective of the continuation of the ecological system, because that first domain, biology, never really escapes from being a major part of the situation. We are organically alive, living beings, and we have biological existence in an ecosystem wherein we naturally have a history that goes back a long way. And the lessons of that history are that we must be protective of the ecological system, as it is actually essential to the continued existence of consciousness as beings, as what we are in humanity. So I have been working on building and designing and researching for necessary corrections in concepts and applications of infrastructure that have to do with the internet and information technology. But this has not been done in a way that is vacuously focused to a single profit line or corporate purpose. It's more of a broad open source practice. And also, I'm always in the mode of being a multi-domain science major. I'm a liberal arts graduate, not a science graduate in the doctrine of the institutions which do the Bachelor of Science degree and which test you for your mathematical capabilities with the formally taught approaches of calculus and things of that sort. While I also take calculus, algebra, geometry, statistics, and I learn these subjects, but I do not learn them because they are the only means by which I may find my way forward. I'm much more into the study of the prose, the essays, the literature, the formal history, and then I extend from that reference the applications in the calculus and the chemistry and the physics. So the hard sciences are essential, respected, very important, but they are not the basis of the practice. It's rather difficult taking this approach as a liberal arts graduate in science. It is a challenging economic position for a career. The other side of the equation on the activity that's been going on for several years now has been that I have always followed a convention or a conference that is derived out of an experience in social history that is connected with, in a general domain, what would be called the Church of the Larger Fellowship and the Unitarian Universalist Association of North America, such as that now exists. And this is a tradition that goes back to when Ralph Waldo Emerson was confronted with the realities of the Native American history, the discovery of the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois, which were evidence of a considerably greater civilization here in North America than the European Judeo-Christian doctrine of the earth being 6,400 something years old and whatnot. The St. Anselm, Bishop of Canterbury kind of references that they had all been using to explain the world as they explored it, until, of course, Muir discovered the Grand Canyon, and it goes down into the ground a mile down. And along the walls of the Grand Canyon, the fossil record progressively gets simpler and simpler and simpler in its evolutionary designs of the life forms found in the rocks, which confirms the theory of evolution by natural selection, and therefore that the Earth is much older than 6,000 years, and also that the life process that we are derived from as beings is a much older process than what had been originally considered to be the theory during Ralph Waldo Emerson's youth. So the resolution was a Unitarian Universalist theology which backs away from some of the dogmatic things that were the doctrine officially handed to everybody at the Council of Nicaea in 410 or so Common Era. And now we are seeing the integration of a much larger history on Earth and a much older and larger, more complex natural history that we are a part of, as well as a much bigger universe that we are a part of. And that's why I've often said in my series, it's a big universe, because that's an important thing to remember and keep in mind, keeping humble about what we know and ready to admit what we don't know. However, science, and I mean hard science, is still the main tool for dealing with the complexity that is before us. We have to try to stay as objective as we can, because the subjectivity that tends to lead in political tribalism leads to war, and war leads to eco-disaster, and with 8 billion people now populating the planet, war could be an extremely eco-disastrous process for the future of life on Earth, particularly if it's going to include large-bodied mammals such as ourselves. So that convention, that conference I refer to, is with 5 guiding principles, generally been more widely published now in the School of Practical Christianity with Unity at Unity Village, which maintained more of a connection to the Universalist concept than did the rest of the Unitarian Association. So staying more reference to the liberal arts history and not creating a process of perceptual truth hallucination through just pure raw intellectualism. The liberal arts essay out of Unity Village School of Practical Christianity, in a more universalist reference, said that one guiding principle is that God exists, some kind of prime mover, as Plato would call it, an origin point, a source point, a creator of some kind that is good, because creation is good, as a first premise. Second, we are a derivative result of that creative process as beings of consciousness. Emphasis added, consciousness. What is consciousness? Trick question. Don't even try to address that right now. It's just too complicated today. Third is that everyone is created in the same humankind algorithm, the same so-called divine spark, to use one of the metaphors or allegories, and therefore we all contain the potential to do what is socially appropriately good and to retain a socially appropriately good understanding in our transaction with each other and in our identity as a social role, a social behavior model that we present and maintain and operate with in our own selves as a self paradigm. We have the potential to stay positive and good and peaceful. We need to hang on to that. And we also need to affirm that for each other. no matter who you are, total stranger, an assumption is made, you have the potential of that divine spark within. Everyone does. That's across all the different tribes of humankind. No prejudgments. It's a requirement ethically in the social engagement. So that's the third. The fourth is there's something higher than just intellectualism that we do with our consciousness. Some will call it prayer. Some will call it meditation. It doesn't matter whether you call it prayer or meditation. There's something higher as a process that we do with our consciousness. And when we do that, we empower something about our connection with a transcendent aspect of consciousness in the universe. To some extent, you might call it our connection within to our source or creator consciousness that we are a derivative from as individual beings. And fifth is that it is more to get out there and walk the walk than simply to be sitting thinking all the time. Many people have accused, and I do not live my life simply sitting and thinking all the time. I do things, and I've been using a soldering iron and electrical engineering skills, and I've been making devices using my information theory. I've been presenting examples of the application of my information theory and my technology concept for some improvements in the infrastructure of the internet and information science in general and public safety with all of that. And then finally, it has resulted in enough communication to start getting some more teamwork, theatric presentation going on of ideas, as well as one patent already established, a second patent pending, and a third patent quite possible. And so I've been busy walking the walk. And it is an honor to have the audience I've enjoyed since I first went on the internet with this in 2004 at Public Access Television, Channel 18 in Iowa City, Iowa. And although my career there did not work out, again, no prejudgments, and certainly I release and let go of anything that no longer serves positively, and I proceed on with my work. My main focus has always been my relationship within with my source as I can best understand. That has always been priority one and always will be. You and I are family, no matter what tribe you think you're a part of or what tribe you think I'm a part of. We have one source that is good. We have the divine spark within, and we are family. Thank you.